Welcome to the deep dive. It's pretty incredible when you think about it. So much of our life just seems to run on autopilot, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
These tiny, almost invisible choices we made every single day, they often just fly under the radar,
Yeah.
yet they're quietly sculpting our entire future, sometimes in ways we can barely even imagine.
It's true.
So today we're diving deep into exactly that. It's the power of habits, how small changes lead to big results.
And our mission here, really, for you, the listener, is to kind of cut through all the noise. We've looked at a whole stack of material on habits, research, practical guides,
Right.
and we want to give you the absolute core insights. We'll unpack how these consistent, often tiny actions compound, they really do, into significant, sometimes life-changing outcomes.
It's like a shortcut to understanding this whole thing.
Exactly. Consider this your fast track to genuinely getting one of the most powerful forces shaping your life.
Okay, let's unpack this then. We all sort of think we know what a habit is. But what exactly are we talking about when we use that word?
Yeah, good question.
And maybe more importantly, why do they seem to have such a grip on us?
Well, at its simplest, a habit is just a routine or a practice you perform regularly, very often without even consciously thinking about it.
Ah,
It's basically an automated behavior. And the reason they have such a grip, well, it's because your brain loves efficiency. It really does.
efficiency, right?
When you repeat an action enough times, the brain actually forms a neural pathway. Think of it like a mental shortcut, a well-worn path.
Okay.
And over time, that action shifts. It goes from needing conscious effort to just running automatically. That automaticity, that's where the power comes from.
Right.
And it's why, honestly, in many ways, our habits control us more than we think we control them.
Wow. That's fascinating. So it's not just about conscious choice. It's about what our brain learns to automate to save energy.
Precisely. Your brain is trying to free up mental bandwidth.
Like me, automatically reaching for my phone the second I wake up, before I'm even properly awake.
Exactly. Or that morning ritual, brushing your teeth. You don't consciously think through every step, do you?
No, not at all.
Or for many people, that first cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Same time, same way every day.
Yeah. And these can be good, bad, or just neutral, right? We've got the good ones, like maybe exercising or reading daily.
Uh-huh.
And then the ones we wish we didn't have, like procrastinating or, that endless social media scroll.
That's it, exactly. And the brain mechanism, it often involves a part called the basal ganglia. It's ancient, really deep-seated. It's just incredibly energy efficient for the brain to build these automated loops.
Right.
So fighting a bad habit, it can feel like you're battling your own biology. Because you are, in a way. You're fighting your brain's preference for efficiency.
That makes so much sense. It really clicks why people say your life is largely the sum of your habits.
It truly is.
The things you do every single day, they genuinely shape your future, even if you don't see the impact right away.
Yeah, that immediate impact is often missing.
And this is where that compounding effect comes in, right? It
Yeah.
sounds subtle, but it seems incredibly profound.
It is profound. The compounding effect is almost deceptive. It seems too simple.
How so?
Well, take reading. Just 10 pages of a book a day. On any single day, that feels like almost nothing, doesn't it?
Yeah, pretty insignificant.
But stretch that out over a year. Suddenly, you've knocked out, 12 to 15 books?
Right.
Or flip it, eating just 100 extra calories a day. That's like a small handful of nuts. Barely noticeable.
Right.
But over a year, that can easily translate to an extra 5 or 6 kilos. Maybe more. The results aren't linear. They don't just add up, they compound. They snowball dramatically over weeks, months, and years.
It's almost counterintuitive, that 1% better idea. It
Right.
sounds too small to make a difference.
I know.
I think a lot of us struggle with that, especially when you put in effort day 1, day 2, and you don't see this huge shift. How do the sources say we should deal with that feeling? That it's not enough?
That's a really crucial point. The material consistently emphasizes trusting the process. It's paramount.
Trust the process.
You have to understand, really internalize, that the initial gains will be small, often almost invisible.
Right.
But the consistency is what builds momentum. It's like that analogy of an airplane, right? Taking off from Mumbai, heading for Delhi.
Yeah.
If its nose is off by just a few degrees right at the start, just slightly, by the time it travels hundreds of kilometers, where does it end up?
Somewhere completely different. Yeah.
Exactly. Could be miles off course,
Yeah.
in a totally different city. Your small daily habits, they have that exact same power. They steer your life's trajectory, even if you don't feel that big turn on day 1 or day 10.
Okay, wow, that's a powerful image.
So this naturally leads us to a really useful framework. It helps understand how habits actually get formed and, importantly, how they stick around. It's called the habit loop.
The habit loop. Okay.
Yeah, it's a concept that comes up a lot in the research. Charles Duhigg's book, The Power of Habit, really popularized it.
Yeah.
And it has 3 key parts that kind of link together.
3 parts, got it.
First, there's the cue. That's the trigger, the thing that kicks the habit off.
Right.
Then there's the routine. That's the actual habit itself, the behavior you perform.
Okay.
And finally, the reward. That's the benefit, the satisfaction, the good feeling you get from doing the routine.
Okay, let's make that really concrete, like an everyday example.
Sure.
Say you're at your desk, maybe it's mid-afternoon, and you start feeling bored, a bit restless.
That feeling, boredom,
Yeah.
that's your cue.
Okay, the cue is boredom.
Hmm.
So what happens next? Maybe I instinctively pick up my phone, start scrolling through social media mindlessly.
Right. That action, picking up the phone and scrolling, that's the routine.
Got it. Routine, scrolling, and the reward. I guess it's that immediate little hit of distraction, entertainment. Yeah. Takes my mind off the boredom for a second.
Precisely. That feeling, even if it's fleeting, of being entertained or distracted, that's your reward.
Okay. Cue, routine, reward. Simple.
Simple but powerful, because here's the kicker. The reinforcement?
Reinforcement.
Your brain experiences that reward, that little dopamine hit maybe, and it creates a really strong connection between that cue, the boredom, and that routine, the scrolling. It essentially learns, hey, when I felt bored and did that, I got a nice little feeling. Let's remember that. Let's do it again next time.
So the brain is basically chasing the reward.
Exactly. And this feedback loop, it works exactly the same way for building good habits as it does for the bad ones we want to break. The brain doesn't judge good or bad. It just wants the reward.
Right. So, okay, we've dissected how habits get built, that loop. But let's be real, the other side of the coin, getting rid of the bad habits, that often feels way harder.
Oh, definitely. It's a common struggle.
So how do we use this same habit loop logic, but in reverse? Say, if we want to cut down on that endless phone scrolling we just talked about.
It's definitely challenging, no doubt, but it is entirely possible because you're still working with the habit loop. You're just trying to disrupt it, break the chain.
Okay, how?
So the first strategy the sources highlight is make it invisible.
Invisible?
Yeah. If the cue for your bad habit like scrolling is seeing your phone sitting right there on your desk, move the phone. Keep it in another room. Put it in a drawer. Out of sight often genuinely means out of mind, or at least reduces the immediate trigger.
Simple, but makes sense. What else?
Second strategy, make it difficult. Introduce friction. Add extra steps.
Friction, like?
Well, for social media apps, log out every time you finish using them. Don't stay logged in. Having to type your password every single time adds a small barrier.
Right, makes it less automatic.
Exactly. Your brain loves the path of least resistance, so making a bad habit even slightly more difficult works against that natural tendency for ease.
That's brilliant. It's like installing little speed bumps for your bad habit.
That's a great way to put it, yeah. Third strategy, change your environment.
Environment. How does that play in?
Well, sometimes certain places or even certain people can unknowingly act as strong cues or reinforcers for bad habits.
Like always procrastinating at a specific coffee shop.
Could be. Or maybe friends who always encourage, say, unhealthy eating choices when you're trying to eat better. Proactively changing your physical or social environment to support your goals can be incredibly effective. Avoid the triggers.
Okay. Invisible, difficult, change environment. Anything else?
Yes, one more key one. Replace, don't just remove.
Replace, don't remove. What does that mean?
Simply trying to stop a bad habit often leaves a kind of vacuum, you know? Your brain still experiences the cue, and it still craves some kind of reward or routine to fill that space.
So it looks for something else.
Often, yeah. So instead of just trying not to scroll your phone when you feel bored, consciously choose a replacement routine, a positive one. Maybe when you feel that boredom cue, you decide you'll do 5 quick stretches instead. Or you'll text a friend. Or listen to one song. You're still responding to the cue, but with a different, better routine.
Got it. So you're redirecting the loop, not just trying to break it cold.
Exactly. You're giving your brain an alternative path to follow.
You know, I remember when I first tried to build a reading habit. That advice to start with just 1 page a day felt almost silly, too small.
Common feeling.
But it genuinely worked. It got me started. Which makes me wonder, what are the biggest mistakes people make when they're trying to build new habits? Especially when they're really motivated and want big changes fast.
Oh, yeah, that initial enthusiasm can sometimes backfire. The material we looked at points to a few really common pitfalls.
Like what?
Probably the biggest one is trying to change too much too soon. People get fired up, decide they're going to meditate, exercise, eat perfectly, journal, learn a language, all starting Monday.
Yeah, I've been there.
It leads to overwhelm and burnout almost every time. Another big one is setting unrealistic goals. Aiming for an hour at the gym every single day when you currently do zero exercise. It's setting yourself up to fail.
Right. Too big a jump.
Also, giving up too quickly. This ties back to the compounding effect. People don't see dramatic results in the first week or two, get discouraged, and quit, not realizing the real gains are further down the line.
Patience is key then.
Absolutely. And surprisingly often, people just don't track their habits.
Really? Why is tracking so important?
Because without some kind of record, it's really easy to lose momentum, or worse, to feel like you're not making progress even when you are. Seeing those check marks on a calendar provides proof and motivation. So yeah, the big message is trust the process, start small, be realistic, and track it, especially when progress feels slow.
And speaking of time frames,
Okay.
let's tackle that myth, that number everyone throws around. How long does it actually take to form a habit? Is it really 21 days?
The famous 21 days. Yeah, that's largely a myth, or at least a massive oversimplification.
Okay, so where did it come from?
It seems to stem from observations by a plastic surgeon back in the 60s about how long it took patients to get used to changes. But actual habit formation research, it paints a very different picture.
Which is?
Well, studies show it can take anywhere from 18 days all the way up to 254 days for a new behavior to become automatic.
Wow, 18 to 254. That's a huge range.
It is. And it makes sense, right? Forming a habit of drinking a glass of water when you wake up is probably going to be quicker and easier than establishing a habit of going for a run every single morning.
Yeah.
It depends hugely on the complexity of the habit, the individual person, their circumstances.
There's no magic number.
No magic number. But here's the good news, the encouraging part. The more consistently you repeat an action, the more automatic it becomes. The neural pathway gets stronger. So the crucial takeaway isn't to fixate on 21 days or 66 days or whatever number. The focus should be on consistency, on showing up every day or as regularly as planned. Build the streak. Don't miss twice if you can help it. That's far more important than hitting some arbitrary deadline.
Focus on the showing up, not the countdown.
Exactly. And that actually leads us nicely into something you mentioned earlier, the power of tracking.
Right, tracking. I have to say, personally, I found this to be a total game changer.
How so for you?
Just seeing that progress visually,
Right.
whether it's putting a check mark on a calendar or using one of those habit tracking apps or even just scribbling it in a notebook,
Yeah.
seeing that chain of days where I actually did the thing, it's incredibly motivating. It turns this abstract goal, like read more,
Yeah.
into something concrete I can see. Look, I read for 15 days straight. That feels good.
It absolutely does. It taps right into our brain's desire for like visual feedback and a sense of accomplishment. It makes the progress feel real. And this whole idea connects to something broader, something maybe overlooked sometimes, which is the profound link between our habits and our mental health, our overall well-being.
Ah, that's interesting. How do they connect?
Well, think about good habits. Things like getting enough consistent sleep, moving your body regularly, spending quality time connecting with people you care about, maybe practicing gratitude.
Right.
These kinds of consistent positive actions, they can significantly improve your mood, lower stress levels, build resilience. They genuinely make life feel more manageable and meaningful. The consistency itself reduces decision fatigue and builds this feeling of self-efficacy, like you're actually in control.
Okay, that makes sense. And the flip side?
The flip side, sadly, is also true. Consistent bad habits, chronic sleep deprivation, being glued to social media for maybe relying on unhealthy food for comfort.
Yeah?
These can really ramp up anxiety, make it harder to focus, chip away at your energy, and unfortunately do real damage to your self-esteem over time.
Wow. It's a really vital connection to make then. Your habits aren't just building your future success or failure. They're actively building your day-to-day happiness and mental state.
That's truly the core of it. It's fundamental. But, if there's one idea from all the material that felt particularly profound, like a real perspective shift, It's this one.
Okay.
Don't just focus on your goals. Focus on your identity.
Focus on identity, not goals.
Hmm.
That sounds big. What does that mean in practice?
It's about changing the way you think about yourself and even the language you use.
How so?
So instead of saying, I want to read more books this year, that's a goal.
Right.
Try framing it as, I'm a reader. That's an identity.
Ah, I see. Or instead of, I want to start exercising regularly.
You shift to, I am the type of person who doesn't miss workouts.
Okay, I get this shift in language, but how do you actually start to believe you're that person? Especially if, your current actions don't really match up yet. That feels like the tricky part.
That is the key question. And what's fascinating is how deeply our self-belief guides our choices. The underlying psychology seems to be that humans have this inherent drive to act in ways that are consistent with their perceived identity.
We want to be true to who we think we are.
Exactly. So, to bridge that gap between who you are now and the identity you want to embody, the sources suggest you start by proving it to yourself with the smallest possible action.
Small proof.
Yeah. If you want to be a reader, then read one single page today. That action, no matter how tiny, is a vote for that identity. It's concrete proof that you did what a reader does.
Ah, so each small action is like casting a vote for the new identity.
Precisely. And over time, as you accumulate these tiny wins, these small proofs, they start to shift your self-image. They reinforce the new identity until it starts to feel natural, authentic. And then your habits just naturally start to align with who you believe yourself to be.
Wow. That reframes everything. It's not about forcing the habit, it's about becoming the person for whom the habit is natural.
You've got it. It's a much more intrinsic and ultimately more sustainable approach.
What an absolutely fascinating deep dive this has been. Seriously.
It's powerful stuff.
Okay, so let's try and bring it all together for you, the listener. Just a quick recap. We've dug into how habits are essentially these automated shortcuts our brain loves, and how they quietly steer so much of our daily life.
Often without us noticing.
We've seen how even the smallest, most consistent habits have this incredible compounding power over time. Tiny changes really do lead to big results.
Definitely.
We talked about how you can intentionally build good habits. Start ridiculously small, make the cues obvious, give yourself a little reward, and crucially, focus on being consistent, not perfect.
Yeah, don't let perfectionism derail you.
And just as important, how you can start dismantling those unwanted habits. Make them invisible, make them difficult, add friction, and really importantly, replace them with something better. Don't just leave a void.
Right. Redirect that energy.
And finally, we just touched on a really profound idea. Shifting your focus from just goals to your identity. Becoming the type of person who does the things you want to do. Because ultimately, your identity shapes your habits, and those habits build your future.
Exactly. And if we connect all of this, to the bigger picture, it really brings up an important question for you, the listener, right now.
Yeah, let's make this actionable. Our challenge to you is this. Pick just one tiny habit you want to start today. It could be something that feels almost laughably small, like drinking one glass of water as soon as you get up, or reading just one page of a book before bed, or maybe doing a single push-up.
Something you genuinely can't say no to.
Exactly. The key is start today, start small, and then just try not to stop. See what happens. See where that tiny bit of momentum takes you.
And as you think about that one small step, maybe take a moment for this final thought. Consider what one tiny, maybe seemingly insignificant habit, if you actually stuck with it consistently. What could that unexpectedly unlock? Especially in an area of your life where you feel maybe the most stuck or the most unfulfilled right now.
What quiet revolution could that one small step begin? Something to think about.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the really amazing power of habits. We'll see you next time.